Star Brigade, ninjas galore, dinosaurs, Street Fighter. This is the year G.I. Joe went batshit fucking crazy as f***. And we're gonna rank every single figure in the year 1993.
Yo, Joe!
And a year full of just absolute freaking weirdness. I have done many of these ranking videos at this point. I've gone through the majority of G.I. Joe history, ranking every figure year by year, and this one is a monster of a year with near 100 figures. So settle in. It is a mixed bag. Now, if you are a huge fan of 93, 94, like you grew up in that era and you're going, this old bastard, he's gonna shit on my childhood, he's just gonna bash and like make fun of, I'm gonna do that for half of the movie, okay? Half this video, all right? Because let me tell you something, and the other half I'm not. I'm gonna be nice. With the ranking videos, this is how they always go. It's like a non-linear, weird way of looking at everything that came out in the year, from the worst to the best. That's why it's a fun way to do things. And I know a lot of you are huge fans, and so I'm gonna approach this one differently, all right? I'm not gonna approach this from 1993 Mark, who was literally in college, okay? Like in college, all right? And was judgmental and was like, G.I. Joe, it's military, it's fantasy, it should only be a military fantasy. G.I. Joe's weird, it gets weird, whatever. Some of you guys are on the side where you're like, it should just be men in olive, drab, green, fighting, terrorists. And some of you were like, no, fuck it, it's weird, whatever, let it be weird. Well, if you're the let it be weird side, this is some weird. As far as I'm concerned, at the time, I was literally in college, so I was kind of out of toys, but I was still buying. Every once in a while, but I wasn't buying everything. I didn't really have the money to do that. As a college kid, you have your own money now. You gotta spend your own money. You gotta spend it on other shit, and whatever dates. So I wasn't buying a lot. And a lot of times I was going to the store and going, oh my god, what are they doing to G.I. Joe? What the hell? What is this shit? But then I was like, oh, but I'm buying that one. And I'm buying that one. So, okay, so if you think I am not going to shit on this year entirely, you might have been a kid, and like if you're a kid here in 1993, this was probably some awesome. There's some things that probably would hit for you that wouldn't have hit for me. We're going to rank all the vehicles in a separate video. You can check that one out. It's going to drop probably about the same time as this one. I usually like to put them together. But let's get into it because there's a lot here. This is a crazy year. This is the biggest year they ever put out. Far more figures than ever. Okay, so let's go to the bottom of the list. And at the very bottom of the list, and this is basically because as a G.I. Joe fan, my number one thing about G.I. Joe, why I think it's the greatest toy line of the 80s, of all time really, is that there was articulation. And so for me, the most egregious harm done in this last year is the lack of articulation on the Star Brigade figures. We're fighting in outer space and we have great space suits. And some of the figures actually were just guys in spacesuits. That works fine. And some of them are given Bizarro giant spacesuits, which completely limits their articulation and also makes them look stupid. And so they look like a different toy line to me. It does not look or feel like G.I. Joe. It doesn't play like G.I. Joe. It's not G.I. Joe. And the worst of them has to be Robo Joe. Now, the reason I hate Robo Joe so much, because Robo Joe is, the idea is like almost like a Robo Cop guy. It's just too far. It's too much. I can't handle it. Would it have been fun in the time? I guess maybe, but I think I would have been pissed off at the lack of articulation. So I'm going to go with worst figure ever in the line. Now, next in line we have, and is this a figure? I think we got to just include. I'm just going to include it because one has to talk about this. If you're talking about this year, the shitty ass Z-list dinosaur that came in the Dino Hunters playset. What a crappy ass dinosaur. Now, okay, hear the idea, and if you can hear Kirk Bazigian talking about how like his idea was. Jurassic Park's come out. It was a sequel. Everybody loves it. Why can't G.I. Joe fight dinosaurs? And one, no, they cannot fight dinosaurs, okay? They can't. Because dinosaurs went extinct a long time ago. So you can't fight dinosaurs. Now, could Dr. Mindbender genetically engineer some dinosaurs? I think it's a guess. Okay, whatever. We know we're in stupid town. If I'm a kid, I can accept it. Here's why this dinosaur makes the list. It is the most Z-list motherfucking dinosaur you've ever seen in your life. It is not like, get a T-Rex, man. Like, why not a T-Rex? A Triceratops. Something. What even is this thing? So the thing is, a lot of things. I think it's not a T-Rex because there's a lot of dinosaurs that look like lame T-Rexes. It has like a normal size head and he's got little arms. But this one in particular, there's no way this is a T-Rex, right? Because he should have a giant head. And he's just lame looking. It's just like the shittiest sculpt of a dinosaur ever. You used to get those plastic dinosaurs when you were a kid. Those were pretty awesome, and you'd get them, and those were good. And you never got one that was as shitty as the one they put in that Dino Hunters playset. So I give them. It's a bad idea, but had they executed the idea, great. You exited the idea as bad as you possibly could, and you gave us some freaking Z-Lester. Nope. Bad. Next in line, and again, like, I swear to God, I'm going to be nice towards the end. There's a lot of stuff I actually really like this year, which might surprise some of you. There's a lot that I really like, and we're going to get there. One thing I do not like is what you did to my boy Destro.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Because first of all, this Destro, Astronaut Destro, is so stupid. He looks absolutely ridiculous. But what is most egregious in this Destro is that he has a missile launcher arm, which means the only way one can assume, and I'm always taking this too seriously. That's my thing. I take it too seriously. I'm looking into it, and I'm like trying to imagine it. That's what I do. That's the channel. We can only get subscribe somewhere else. Okay, that's what we do here. He got no arm. Did he amputate his arm to create a missile launcher? That makes no sense. He wouldn't do that. He needs an arm for feeling the Baroness's ass in those leather suit. He's not gonna give up his arm just to shoot a missile. It doesn't make any sense. Horrible. Why? Next in line, we have our first Battle Core figure, and the Battle Core figures, they're a mixed bag, but in general, I don't like them. They're neoned up. They have that, instead of like distinctive weapons that are theirs, that they own, they have that little weapon tree. So we're getting a lot of weapons, and usually we're getting one weapon that fires, right? So, which I've never cared about. I've never found that interesting to me. It's like if a weapon fires, it almost always, as a kid I felt this way too, it almost always had to be too big for anybody to carry. So it looked stupid, and it wasn't fun. I would rather have the weapon, and then you just like can make it fire. And then if you try to fire it as a kid, you try to fire it, you'd be like, and it would always miss, and you'd be like frustrated. So it never was that exciting. It was exciting for like 5 minutes, just like a cat following a ball of yarn. You'd be like, woo, woo, woo. Then you would go, okay, but now I really just want to play, and when I want to play, if I shoot a missile and it's supposed to hit, then the missile's supposed to hit, and so it's just better to have like a missile. Like for instance, my boy Salvo, he came with missiles. You just pulled them right out of his thing, and you made them shoot off, and they were the right size, and it fit, and it was good. And all this stuff has these giant blasters. Here's why this one makes my worst of the Battle Core list, and this is Muskrat. He's got a helmet cannon. It makes no sense. First of all, look at that thing. He looks absolutely ridiculous. He would legitimately just, his head would just be like this the whole time. Be like, I'm going to shoot you with my helmet can. Ah! And then he would just fall and probably break a hip. You look, it's just, what were they thinking? No, it was terrible. Okay, next in line we have the Star Brigade Heavy Duty. What even is this? Again, they amputated his arm to fire missiles with it, right? His articulation is off, and he's just got, it looks like a big green blob alien thing, and it just, what even toy line is this? This does not look like G.I. Joe to me. This is bizarre. Now, another feature of this lovely year of G.I. Joe is how stupid the file cards are, and almost every one of them comes with a really stupid saying at the end. And Heavy Duty's here says, "Like the sounds of a symphony, bullets bouncing off my armor sound just as sweet."
G.I. Joe will return after these messages.
But standing in their way, the greatest fighting force ever assembled! Bigger, tougher, and more determined than ever to crush Cobra with awesome new combat divisions! G.I. Joe Battle Corps! We're gonna knock you cold! G.I. Joe Ninja Force! You'll be seeing stars! G.I. Joe Mega Marines! This fight's really getting ugly! And G.I. Joe Star Brigade! We gotta stop meeting like this!
G.I. Joe started out with this feel of like semi-realistic. Not realistic, I know it's not realistic, it's totally wacky and weird and crazy and shit. But there was a feel like a movie. Like you could watch the movie and be like, oh yeah, it's the military, but this one big advance has happened and there's battle android troopers and they have laser guns and this is different. So it's a different world. Just slightly, but resembles our world. And so when you bring in things that don't resemble the world at all, and push it into Crazy Town, it like breaks with the reality. It doesn't feel like G.I. Joe anymore, and a lot of this does not feel like G.I. Joe to me anymore. I think they've lost the track. What's happened in 1993? Well, we got to think about it. At this time, right? If you had an action figure line, it lasted 3-4 years. It was a mega hit, right? He-Man lasts something like 5-6 years. It's a mega hit. Mask 4 or 5 years, pretty big hit, right? Even something that lasted like 2-3 years, considered a big hit. G.I. Joe lasted 13 years. Okay, that is way beyond anything. It went way beyond anything else in the era. And this is the end. This is the very end. And they're throwing shit at the walls. And you can listen to Kirk Bazigian, who was the guy who kind of ran the show, as he did run it from the whole line. And he's talking about this on 3djoes.com, which is where I get my images from. I did, get permission from Carson to get the images. And I want to just shout out 3D Joes for being an incredible resource. Check him out. You can see little 3D spins of every character. And what's really cool is you get these little audio cues where you have underneath each product. And there's somewhere Kirk talks about things like the Dino Riders, the Dino Hunters, the Star Brigade, and the Mega Marines and what their motivation was. And so all of that is going to come out in this video, but you can go listen to those on 3djoes.com, and thanks to them for letting us use their images. Next in line, we have Mace, who is part of the Battle Corps, and he similarly, in a stupid way, has a giant head cannon, which you could never walk anywhere with. If you walked over, I feel like I'm just repeating myself. So many of these things are repetitive. This is just really whatever. Next in line, we have my boy Law and his new suit. One thing that is very mixed bag about this year is you're getting new versions of old characters. A lot of old characters get a reboot. Sometimes it's actually cool because even if it's not as good as the original, which most of them are not as good as the original, I'm going to let you know that at least you're getting a character that maybe you didn't have or couldn't have had, because again, we have to think about it in terms of, a kid might be coming up that just got into G.I. Joe. They don't have access to a Roadblock or whatever. But okay, this is Law. And my problem with this is it looks literally, how does this Law? First of all, where's Order? He has no dog, and that makes absolutely no sense. Second of all, it just looks like a space suit. And it's just really stupid, and it has nothing to do with Law. Similarly, we're going to look at Outback version 3 and version 4. This is another thing they did. Seems like this year they were just repaint. Really tried to put out a ton of stuff that was already out there and even give you variants within the same 1 year. But this was a staggeringly large year. I mean, they had more figures in this year than they had in any other year, nearing 100 figures. But here's Outback. Why? I mean, we've joked about the fact that G.I. Joe looks like the Village People. Why does he have a construction cap on? Why is he wearing the most garish colors imaginable? And again, Horrible, horrible file card. I always teach 3 things. Be tough, be dedicated, kick Cobra butt. This is what his file card says. Again, this is a point where Larry Hama, I'm assuming Larry Hama, there's no way he was writing that. Larry Hama stopped writing. Larry Hama is always an interesting guy because he always seems to have, it was a sensibility. He's a little uncompromising, right? Like there are certain characters he just said, no, I'm not gonna do that. I know you want to sell a toy, I don't care. And there are other characters where he's like, all right, I have to, I'll use them once, and then we never see them again. And then when he wrote the file cards, there was a sense of realism, a sense of like cool care. It was about character, and then you get this stupid shit, and it's just like, what even is this? So we get 2 versions of Outback. They're both terrible. Next we have my boy Gung-Ho. Okay, what do they do to my poor Gung-Ho? And this brings in our first Mega Marine figures. And the concept of Mega Marine is, well, Hasbro and Kenner had just merged. Kenner happened to own Play-Doh. So Hasbro thought, let's make a combo Play-Doh character with G.I. Joe, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So what did they decide to do? Well, they come up with this armor that you snapped onto the character that looked absolutely ridiculous. It just looked like a fat suit. It looked like a man in a giant fat suit with engines on it or something. And then they came with Play-Doh, and like, I don't know what you're supposed to do with the Play-Doh though. Like, you're supposed to make armor out of the Play-Doh, but if you just like clamp a bunch of shit Play-Doh on your figure, then you gotta just, all you have is you have a G.I. Joe covered in Play-Doh. It's not gonna make armor. It's a terrible idea. And the Mega Marines in general are a horrible, horrible line of figures. With the exception of the monsters I'm going to give you, and we're going to get to the monsters later, because I'm going to admit, for you, the 93, 94 fans, that those monsters would probably rule as a kid. Like those were kind of awesome. But I don't think this version of Gung-Ho is good. Like there's nothing about it that's good. Next in line for Mega Marines, we have the Cyber Vipers. Slightly better than Cyber Vipers is the Mega Vipers, who again had this weird armor thing that came with Play-Doh. There was 0 use for it, and they've got neon colors. This is like the most colorful like eyesore of a year ever. Don't get it. I guess the idea is they wrangle the Monstro Vipers and the Bio Vipers. That's their thing. And I don't know. Next in line, we have Dr. Mindbender version 2. Just, he's covered in yellow and purple, and he's just so bright and colorful. But my problem is he has a shirt on. And Dr. Mindbender is 100% anti-shirt. He is as anti-shirt as he is pro-mind control. And to make a Mindbender with a shirt is just a blasphemy as far as I'm concerned. At least, you want to put him in a lab coat, okay, but I don't know what this even is. Next in line, we have Mirage, a bio-artillery expert, and this is a character, so it's a new character for the Mega Marines, which is cool that they're like introducing. There's not a lot of new characters this year. Most of the characters are a reboot of an old character in a stupid costume. But so I respect that we get a new Mirage, but I do think the Mega Marines with their goofy, neon colors and that armor really didn't work for me. If you were a Mega Marines fan, though, I want to know, what did you do with that Play-Doh? Did you turn it into Mega Marine armor? Like, were you able to make? I did have them. I bought a couple. For me, you snack the little Play-Doh on, and then you just have a G.I. Joe covered in Play-Doh. Just that's it. There's nothing going on there. Nothing to play with. In this year, we have a lot of our fan favorites, a lot of our favorite characters in a new uniform. Sometimes it might be really the second or third version of this character. And in this case, we have Bazooka Gone Fishing, which is one of the weirder looks for a G.I. Joe character. He legit has uncle energy. He's going fishing. And he takes his... it's fine, you want to fish. Fishing is great. It's lots of fun. It's very relaxing. Why do you have an action figure of it? I don't even know what he does in his free time. And then, of course, they have to amp this up by saying, when I explode into battle against those puny Cobra Vipers, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. By the way, he did make my worst list of G.I. Joe figures ever, and I made a video on that you should definitely watch if you enjoy watching me make fun of shit. And that is right here. These are the worst G.I. Joe figures of all time. Okay, right now we're getting into a string of figures that aren't so terrible, so we're moving in, but are really just repaints, and so that doesn't excite me a ton. And so next in line we have a Flak Viper that is inferiorly painted. This is the Flak Viper version 2. It just does not look quite as good as the original Flak Viper. So he goes sort of down the list. Next, after that, we have my Firefly version 3, which is basically the same thing as Firefly version 2. So that's a lot of thing they gave you this year is really just another opportunity to buy something that came out a year before. Now, talking about Firefly in his green outfit, it's such a downgrade. It's so terrible. It's not the worst figure you've ever seen, but when you compare it, how much of a downgrade it is from like one of the most iconic, best looking figures ever created. I think the original Firefly is just one of the best looking things they've ever done. He's so iconic. And why is he iconic? Because we like the way he looks. Because he doesn't do a whole lot in any of the medium, really. He's just Firefly. Except the movie Retaliation, he really doesn't have much presence, but he's just iconic because the look is so good. You change the look, give him a baseball cap, put him in all green, now he looks stupid, and give him a giant dreidel. And I don't know what's going on here, and it is not good. Okay, next in line we got yet another lovely Star Brigade figure, and these are all going to sit at the bottom here. And here we have our Duke, yet another Duke. We have like 4 million Dukes. And this one, though, has a robot arm. Again, we amputated Duke's arm. I don't think that's a good plan because you're not always going to be shooting in space. You know, you got to go back to Earth at some point. You need that arm. Okay, next in line, we have our Dino Hunter action figures. And this came in a set with the world's worst dinosaur. And we have Lowlight and Ambush. They're like pretty bland looking figures. But one thing I gotta say that I don't particularly care for, once again, we have really bad writing on the file cards. It says, trying to capture a dinosaur is like wrestling a whale in a fish tank. What does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? Ambush is a pretty good figure overall. I actually am a fan of Ambush. I think he's a pretty good later era figure that I would like to see because he came with that weird come with tent, which he doesn't come with here. He's just hanging out. All right, and then slightly better than Ambush is Lowlight, just because it's Lowlight and Lowlight's awesome. But again, Lowlight in this world is not a night spotter anymore, which is not a thing. By the way, night spotter is not a thing that I'm aware of. I think he's a sniper. We all know he's a sniper. This kid, he's a dinosaur night spotter. That's his job. That's a job. You apply to that job in the military, apparently. Okay, next in line we have, Ninja Force, which again, like in this Bizarro year, we have ninjas and Star Brigade's robot mech soldiers and dinosaur hunters and Mega Marines and monsters and Street Fighters. Every weird shit you can imagine. This is yet another thing, is like now we're like shoving ninjas directly up your ass. Like this is the point where it's just like ninja, and you get really sick of the ninjas. And this for me is like, some of the ninjas hit. I'm a big ninja fan, but some of the ninjas do not. And I would say this is Sing 2 is a ninja that doesn't hit. He comes with one of the worst vehicles of all time, and he is just a repaint of Storm Shadow, so there's just not much there. Next we have Blastoff, who is yet another Mega Marine. But this guy's a flamethrower Mega Marine. And he actually has a decent look. The colors are muted enough that he doesn't look too ridiculous. But he still, has that really stupid clay armor thing. Next in line we have Rock and Roll version 4. This is one of those Star Brigade blocky looking stupid figures in a mech suit. Slightly better though, because he does actually retain his arm, so he's not an amputee. We give him a machete, which I don't know what's going on here, and this is another one of those features of this year where I guess on one hand you're getting a lot of weapons. Each guy does come with kind of a lot of weapons, but they're not specific and unique to them, which is one of my big problems with the year and where it's going. It just doesn't. But as far as like the suit goes, as of the Star Brigade figures, this one's decent if you can accept the stupidity of it. This is a pretty good, you know, the best of the bulky sculpted ones. Okay, next we have the Red Ninjas, and this is a very lazy. What I hate about this is like these are sort of just soldiers. They're called the Red Ninjas, and there's a sort of long history, of course, of Red Ninjas in G.I. Joe from, you know, the silent issue issue 21. Okay, and here's why I have a really, really big problem with this figure. This is a dog shit figure, and this is why I have a problem. It's called the Red Ninjas. It's not red. He ain't red. He's got like it's like not even a pure red. It's like, but he's got blue and he's got not a red. Second of all, it's very clearly a ripoff of Dice. So you have, you know, he's just a repaint of Dice. And then he comes with Battle Axe, which is one of the worst vehicles ever created. Just absolutely stupid vehicle. Okay, next we have another Gung-Ho. And I have a problem with this Gung-Ho, although it's just basically a repaint of an earlier Gung-Ho, which is fine. Carries a flag. But what they did is they removed the tattoo from his chest and they put it on his arm. Now, okay, if we work in a world in which this is a fictionalized universe in which we obey the rules, character consistency, am I to believe that the man got laser surgery to remove the tattoo on his chest and move it to his arm? That upsets me greatly. Next we have Cobra Eel version 3. This is very similar to the Cobra Eel version 2, but it sucks really hard because the one thing about the Cobra Eel version 2 that I love so much was it came with a robotic shark, and this one has no robotic shark. Sucks. Okay, next in line we're going to have a bunch of, you're going to see they had a lot of mail order going on this year, and so I'm just going to hit the mail order up right in a row just to kind of give you an idea of what came out. First in line we have the helicopter pilots. Came with Interrogator and this guy, and new colors without their helicopters. Why would you do that? I have no idea. Next in line we have the Arctic Commandos. This is a kind of an awesome set, I gotta admit. If you didn't have all these figures and you could get this Arctic, I had all the figures so I didn't really need any of them, but you could get this Arctic set, pretty great. And, you know, you got Stalker, so you got a new Stalker. Last and more exciting, the Rapid Deployment, which came with a little thing. Remember the little guy, yeah, this little thing you put on your belt. And you stick G.I. Joes in it and you go to school. And you wore it a little past the day. You wore it one day, maybe to high school, and you never lived it down. Okay, that's, I'm not saying that happened to me, I'm just saying maybe it happened to somebody. Anyway, the Rapid Deployment team is pretty cool. Next in line, we have Bushido, and Bushido is an ice ninja. Because ninjas need ice ninjas. I don't know why. This is where the Ninja Force thing has just jumped the shark. He doesn't look very good. He's all in blue. And the idea is that he's a ninja who is obsessed with the cold. And it's just a bizarre, I don't really get it. I don't get the concept of ice ninja. Is he fine? He's okay. Okay, next in line we have Mutt and Junkyard V4. Perfectly fine. We've had him like 20 times. It's the same figure. Move on. Okay, next in line we have Ozone version 2 and Ozone version 3. We get two different colorways for Ozone. And Ozone is certainly one of the Eco Warriors that we get a new version of, and it's okay. Next in line we have General Hawk version 5. This version came with the Armor Bot, which was a giant, you know, mech robot that I did have and I did love. So I had this figure. It's one of the things I went out of my way to get, and it's fun. It's like, again, you're getting one of these blocky, stupid figures that loses articulation, which is anti-G.I. Joe to me, but it's General Hawk. Came with this pretty great. I mean, that Armor Bot kind of rules. It's one of those things where you're like, yeah, it doesn't fit G.I. Joe, but it also is awesome. Okay, next in line we have a Create a Cobra, which is actually a mail away. So you can mail away, you can get this Create a Cobra. An interesting idea, you create your own Viper or something, but garishly purple for some godforsaken reason. And whatever, I didn't do this, I didn't know it existed. This is news to me. Okay, next in line we have Countdown version 2, and of course now we're getting into the Star Brigade stuff, but some of the Star Brigade stuff was not the garishly mech suited up weird robot amputees with no arms. They were just astronauts. This is cool. This is fine. I think the idea of bringing G.I. Joe into space is pretty great. I kind of love it. Makes sense. You got to protect your satellites. I think that's where the war is going, apparently, according to the Space Force. And this worked pretty well. So this is a good version of Countdown. It's not a bad figure at all. Is it as good as Countdown 1? It is not. It's a downgrade. Next in line we have Sci-Fi. And this Sci-Fi comes with the Starfighter, which is basically a repainted vehicle. So not very exciting, but it's fine. He looks up. Notice that in the middle here we're at a place of fine. We're at a place of fine. We were at a place of what were you doing? What happened? Were you doing a lot of cocaine at the G.I. Joe head? What's going on here? Now we're at a place of fine. We're gonna get to a place of like kind of awesome soon. But we're still in fine. So I'm just gonna go through fine really fast because whatever. This video's gonna be long. Next we have Target version 2. Target, I should say, version 2. The Target is such a cool figure. He's got this, like, you know, the original one. He's got this, like, giant, weird backpack. And the Target version 2, they just removed everything cool about him. And they just give you this generic-ass looking figure. No, it sucks. Next line, we have the Astro Viper. Similarly, Astro Viper, great figure. You remove his backpack. You give us, you know, a little weapon tree, boring weapons. Who cares? Next line, we have the Heat Viper. Now, this Heat Viper, of course, is Cobra's missile launching character. Pretty cool character. Got a lot of missiles all over his ankles for some reason. This version looks okay. I mean, the first version is garishly yellow. This version is garishly green. Throwing in there, I'm going to put in Alley Viper. Now, this version of the Alley Viper has a yellow and black scheme. He's got a pretty cool looking, sharp looking helmet on him. The shield, I've always been a big Alley Viper fan, but he's not my Alley Viper. My Alley Viper is the original. Next in line we have Slice version 2, and this is just such a absolute downgrade of Slice. Instead of wearing red, which is cool and causes rage and is a great color, he's wearing like a gross vomit orange. It's just, I don't understand why you would do this. What is the point of this? Just re-release him if you have to re-release Slice. Okay, next in line we have General Hawk V6 as a mail order. And we got a bunch of things coming up here that are mail orders. Fine, okay. Next in line we have Deep 6 version 4. Next few, I just feel like there's nothing to say. They're just repaints of other things. Let's go through it. Okay, next in line we have Leatherneck with Tiger Pants. And now he fits right in with Tiger Force. He's just wearing really random tiger pants. I don't know why. Next we have the Headhunter version 2. I love the Headhunters. I'm a huge fan. This is a new variant. It's got a little green on it. It's not as good as the original, but I'll take it. Next we have Payload version 3. Next in line we have Scarlet, and I'm putting her kind of low. It's the Scarlet version. I can't believe this is the only other version of Scarlet. And I think, you know, game for a new Scarlet, I think the sculpt is really bad, and I think there's a few things that are bad about it. One, I mean, she's got a fairly unmemorable costume. 2, she's lacking a crossbow, which is just absolute fucking blasphemy as far as I'm concerned. But 3, she's business class. She got 3. She has a very big butt, and it is like, it's okay. You have a big butt. I like big butts, and I cannot lie. I'm just saying, if you're a ninja, you should work on it, and it wouldn't be that kind of. It's also like a flat butt. It's not like a good. It's like a round, like good, like kind of like good butt. It's more just like a flat one, And it feels like she, as a ninja, you kick enough, you're going to get a pretty rockin' ass, I would imagine. And so I don't know what's going on. Also, a little bit of a butterface. Just not a good sculpt. It's not a good figure. Almost, but not quite. Next in line, we have the Night Creeper leader. And now, I will say, I think the idea of a Night Creeper leader is pretty great. I think he's, having just more ninjas is fun. But he does not look like the Night Creeper leader. There's no resemblance to the Night Creepers. He looks like a guy wearing tiger pajamas with a little thing around his head. He's just does not look. And so I don't think he's the best choice. And I think that's a shame that the Night Creeper should have an official leader. That would have been very cool. But he should have at least the same aesthetic. Like Night Creepers like purple. He should wear some purple. And he should probably not be as naked as he is. He just wears just way too little clothes, and it's just a really like it's like a big miss. Okay, next in line, and this is where we get into another faction introduced in this very wild year of G.I. Joe, and one that I am going to maybe surprisingly embrace more than you would think, being a purist. And here's where I'm going to explain why I love the Street Fighter figures. I love them. I think they're awesome. And the reason why I love the Street Fighter figures so much is, even though they're really not G.I. Joe, it was like a weird decision to bring Street Fighter into G.I. Joe. And I was a fan of Street Fighter. I played the game. I'm from the 90s. We all played the game, okay? I mean, like, let's face it.
It's the most lethal G.I. Joe team yet. Capcom Street Fighter 2. No way!
I did like the game. I didn't like, it wasn't like my thing or anything. I didn't really care. I wouldn't have bought Street Fighter figures if they were just Street Fighter figures. But brought into G.I. Joe, they were kind of an awesome element. At first, maybe I saw them, I was like, man, why are you bringing Street Fighter? It's not... On the other hand, though, I bought a bunch of them because I thought their sculpts were nice. And they did some really nice things with the Street Fighter figures. Like, one thing I really, really love with Street Fighter figures is that some of them had body sculpts that were very different. For instance, Sagat was kind of bigger figure. You had figures that were taller, leaner. You had Edmund Honda was a massive, fat sumo guy. All of those guys and a lot of the Street Fighter figures fit very well into G.I. Joe. If you look at it as there's Ninja Force, and Ninja Force is hiring, or as other Dreadnoks, or as even some of them look like military guys. I mean, you got M. Bison is flat out just some sort of fascist soldier. He fits right into Cobra. But the better thing is all the way all these other guys fit as just ninja warriors. So if you want some more guys for Snake Eyes to fight, and then you got these guys who are different sizes, much taller, much leaner, more muscular, or in the case of Edmund Honda, big and fat sumo guy. This was awesome to have those go against your G.I. Joe characters, against Ninja Force. This was an awesome addition. If you could just say it wasn't Street Fighter, yeah, and you made up your own world, you made up your own game, which is mostly what I think we all probably did with Street Fighter. We said, These are new characters that are, characters from made-up world of G.I. Joe that, it's not in the comics, not in the cartoons, it's my world, which is what we all had our headcanon. In the headcanon, they felt really, really well, and they were great figures. So I am a fan. At the bottom of the list, I'm going to put Ken Masters. He did look like just about every martial artist in the, era of, of ninja martial arts movies from that, like the guy from Gymkata or something. So, but he's just not that exciting, and so let's move on. But like I said, these are going to go high on my list. Next in line, we have Colonel Courage, who's an absolute so down this batshit insane year of many wild figures with stupid looks and weird colors, and we have a figure that is kind of okay. He's just fine. He looks good. He fits in the world of G.I. Joe. My only problem with Colonel Courage is that it feels like Colonel Courage is like a nickname. It's like a cool nickname. But if you look at his rank, he's literally a colonel. He's a colonel, okay? Which means, get this, he outranks almost everyone in G.I. Joe. Almost everybody. Other than, Hawk. Okay? He is outranking the majority of everybody in G.I. Joe. Duke, Flint, whatever. He's way above. Correct me if I'm wrong, you military people. Colonel Courage. Most random-ass character is the highest up. I think it's a nickname. I don't think he's a real colonel. Next in line, we have Gristle. And Gristle is basically a scumbag. And again, I made fun of him in my Worst Figures video, but in line with all these things that don't stand out, he just stands out as a grimy scumbag, and that might be fun to play with. So he is kind of like if you were, walking by the... He basically just reminds you of that guy who hangs out in front of the 7-Eleven and, asks you for cigarettes. They made that guy into an action figure for kids for some reason, but, whatever. It's still better than some of these. Now we're going to get into a realm of some figures that are just, some of your favorite characters. Some of these are repaints, but I'm going to give it to Roadblock because this is a Battle Core repaint of the previous Roadblock. But that's a good Roadblock. First, that's a good figure overall. It's just a good, solid figure. It looks good. It looks like Roadblock. The head sculpt is good. He's wearing clothes that make sense for battle, and everything about it is good. In this year, you got that figure. You got a solid figure. Next in line, we have Wetsuit with a mullet. And now, this is a decent figure. in that although we did get the same figure a year before, this figure has a little ride-along sea carrier thing with a missile on the top. But if you look at his hair, I'm going to give him points for having like the most incredible mullet in G.I. Joe. That is a fine mullet. Business in the front, party in the back. Next in line, we have Cross Country version 2, which is the most likely to be canceled version. But they were not shy about that General Lee flag there. Not shy about it. Next line, we have a new character, Snowstorm. So a fairly obscure character in the snow realm. And it looks like he's got a kind of snow armored suit. He looks okay. There's two versions of this figure. I'm going to rank them like this and this because, you know, they're pretty much the same figure, just a slightly different colorway. This is another thing they're doing in this year that I think is just, I don't know, it feels like a money grab or something. It's just like really overproducing figures. Next, we have Wild Bill version 3. Now, Wild Bill version 3, he looks like Little Lord Fauntleroy. I've never been into this. I know he's supposed to be the cavalry guy. It's an inferior version of Wild Bill, but at least you're getting a new version of Wild Bill. Comes with a knife, comes with a little old-style gun. Kind of cool. Next, we have the CG Commander. That's Crimson Guard Commander. He's not bad. He just doesn't really look like a Crimson Guard to me. I think they missed the boat on that, so I'm not sure what that's about. Next in line, we have Bulletproof. Now, Bulletproof, I'm a big fan of. I actually think he's a great character. I think calls back to the Cops TV show. The idea is like, you know, he busts through a door and he's been shot a few times and he survived. He's a good looking figure. This, of course, is a repaint of or re-release of a figure that came out the year before, but we'll count it for the hell of it. Next, we have Cobra Commander version 6. Now, Cobra Commander, he's an all black and he's got the hood, and so he ranks high on my list because he has the hood, and I prefer my Cobra Commander with a hood. Bring back the hood. Next, we have Barricade, and this is a similar figure to one that we had a couple of years ago. In 1992, I believe, Barricade. One thing I do like Barricade, I think this is the inferior paint, but Barricade has a sort of battering ram that he can use to smash open doors, which is a very cool weapon. Okay, next in line we have General Flagg version 2. Now we had General Flagg version 1 just a year before. And so it's not super exciting to have this new figure that is basically the same thing. But again, we're getting a good figure that really fits into the line and kind of was a long time coming. This is actually apparently General Flagg's son. This is not General Flagg. Thank you, somebody told me in the comments last time. This is actually his son, I believe. But it's kind of fun to have a General Flagg figure. Next we have Back Blast. Now Back Blast is a figure I really like. From the original Back Blast. Had a really cool like knife, and he's an anti-aircraft expert. This one is not quite as good. Next we have Cutter version 3, and this is a perfectly okay version of Cutter, and he came with a really pretty great vehicle here, so this is why I think he's alright. This vehicle is not bad for the era. Next we have Duke version 4. And this is a sort of generic soldier-looking version of Duke, which is an absolutely fine figure. He does have one of those ridiculously giant, massive weapons, but whatever, who cares? Next in line, we have Beachhead. This is different Beachhead. And again, it's a pretty decent-looking figure. He's got blue, weird, but again, still wearing the mask. Still is mysterious looking and decent, and this is not bad. And if you couldn't get a Beachhead any other way, this is not a bad Beachhead. Next, we have the Nitro Vipers, and the Nitro Vipers have a pretty decent look, and they basically are they drive the detonator, which is like a Nerf gun ship. You hit a pump, and the Nerf missile shoots out. But they're very good looking. This is a fine looking figure, a fine looking addition. Feels like from a different year. And it's alright. Okay, now, like I said, I would not complain the whole time. I have complained for a long time. It's probably been a half hour of me complaining. This year is not all bad, though. If you really look and you search and you look for what's there, there's good figures here. And if you look and you get in the brain of a kid in 1993, maybe is a little younger than you and just didn't grow up in the heyday of G.I. Joe, grew up in this era where it's kind of on its way down. Some of these, a lot of stuff's fun. So next in line we have Iceberg version 2, and this is an upgrade. One, he's got more weapons. Iceberg was one of those things where he just like lacked weapons, but The number one thing that would have made me love this guy is he has a snowboard. To me, just that that was one of my favorite things to do with Snow Job, was to have those battles where he's going down, you know, a massive hill, shooting at cobras, he's being chased by snow serpents, and they've got skis, and he's got skis, even though they didn't have skis. I made their, like, snow shoes skis, just because who wants snowshoes is boring. So I was having these ski battles with Snow Serpent and Snow Job. And have a guy with a snowboard, that would have been awesome. Next in line, we have Ace, version 2. It's another version of Ace. Perfectly great figure that would fit in a different year. He looks great. He's got a green suit on. Looks actually probably more accurate to Maverick and Top Gun than the original Ace figure. But here we are now to the exciting, again, like I said about Street Fighter. A lot of these figures were pretty great, and you were pretty happy to have them. So this one, Ryu. Sort of the hero of Street Fighter. We have 2 versions of Ryu. And it's just like, again, you're getting a martial artist. Absolutely fits nicely in with your Ninja Force figures, and certainly is a great addition. Okay, next we have Guile, and Guile is just a weird G.I. Joe guy, because he actually really fits with G.I. Joe, because he's got the military thing, but he's got like this crazy ass kid and play hair, you know. So for me, it's like, okay, he's got, and we have 2 versions of Guile as well. One came with a vehicle, one was just a figure. The hair, man, that's just some crazy ass hair. You didn't have any G.I. Joes that had any hair as crazy as that. Okay, next in line we have the Cobra Bat V4. Now, I don't like the Star Brigade figures in general because of the massive lack of articulation, the arms that shoot rockets, the weirdness of that. And they're in sort of suits, and I think that's not good. But the one exception I'm going to say here is this Cobra Bat is actually good. It kind of makes sense, right? I mean, it's like a different kind of bat. It's a little sturdier, it's a little bigger, it has a rocket launcher, and it looks pretty good. And I think this is a figure that I'm kind of into. And I think this year, the test of this year is like, would you want this in classified? And a lot of it's a no. I'd take one. I'd take one of these bats. Yeah, take a new bat and any day. They're not bad. Okay, next we have Frostbite version 3. And this is the Jason Frostbite. So he has a Jason mask and a machete, and he looks like he's gonna kill you and your family. I did make fun of this figure in my worst figures of all time list, because I thought that the fact that he had that weird Jason mask. But people corrected me, that is legitimately a mask that you might wear. I think he looks terrifying, and I think it's kind of awesome. I think he stands out, and that's what happens. Is like, you have almost 100 figures this year, and so many of them don't stand out. But this guy stands out as a psychopath, you know, slasher killer. Again, next we have M. Bison with 2 versions of M. Bison. And M. Bison is the fascist commander, right? He's like the evil leader of Street Fighter. And he just looks like a fascist soldier. So he fits absolutely right in with Cobra. And so you could really just pull him right in as a new Cobra operative. And what was great about these Street Fighter figures is if you did the same, I don't know, tell me in the comments below if you did the same. For me, it was like, I don't care about Street Fighter. I like Street Fighter, but I don't care about it. Who are they in my headcanon as new enemies for G.I. Joe or new allies for G.I. Joe? It was perfect to have this like weird fascist guy. He was just a new Cobra faction. But now, here's where we're getting into the stuff from Street Fighter that is legitimately not just cool, but awesome. Because you're getting things that you did not get in G.I. Joe. And Vega would be one of my top figures. First, he just looks like a member of Ninja Force, but he's actually cooler than almost all of the members of Ninja Force, right? Or a villain. He looks like a Ninja Force villain. Weird, creepy mask on, and a bunch of very strange weapons, and that long braid, which was so cool. I mean, it's so great. And, you know, grabbing a braid, and just I'd be grabbing that braid. I'd be Snake is grabbing that braid and swinging him through like windows and shit. So now we're getting the stuff that's like, oh man, like, I think it's like, yes, on one hand you're like, wow, this isn't G.I. Joe, but totally fits right in. It totally fits right in with like Ninja Force and all that kind of thing. More villains for Snake Eyes to fight. Just imagining this as just a new ninja clan, and now Snake Eyes and the Ninja Force, Scarlet, people with their big butt, gotta go in, they gotta take out these guys. Awesome stuff. Okay, next in line I'm gonna go right back though to say there is one Ninja Force character that I quite like. in this line here, and that is Bonsai. This guy is a purple-looking, you know, shirtless ninja. Also has just a very cool aesthetic, very cool look to him. And one of the things that was really funny, I talked about this in my video on ninjas, I ranked all the ninjas, is that so many of them are Italian for some reason. His name is Robert Travellino, and that is an Italian name. So is Nunchuck. So there's multiple of the ninjas. If you look at all the ninjas, many of them are Italian. I don't know why this is. I don't think there's a lot of Italian ninjas in the real world. I don't think that's true. But in this world, in the G.I. Joe world, ninjas are Italian. I'm half Italian, so that means I'm half ninja. That's all I'm saying. I have no training, can't do any of it, but that makes me half ninja. Another thing that's kind of funny about these, if you really read the file cards, they have little things at the bottom that talk about them, and some of them are not very good. Okay, so for instance, I'm gonna look at this. Bonsai here has a high impact knee brace. Oh, is arthritis acting up again? Yeah, thanks. That makes way more fun. That's not. No kid wants to think about that. Just. Why would you put that on a card? Okay, next in line we have Keel-Haul version 2. Now this is pretty great because you're getting a Keel-Haul, an Admiral Keel-Haul, and you didn't have to get the aircraft carrier. So if you didn't get the aircraft carrier, you got one of the main, you know, a character that's important high up in the G.I. Joe ranks. Okay, next in line we have Zangief, and he's the Russian bear wrestler. Now he just fit in. He's a big, massive dude with a mohawk. He's got it looks like a white Mr. T, and he just fit really nicely in with the dreadnoughts. I mean, he would just, you know, if you wanted to fill out your dreadnought ranks in 1993, that was the way to do it. He was so he works for me. Okay, next in line we have Snake Eyes version 5, and this might be the worst version of Snake Eyes, or one of the worst versions of Snake Eyes. It's still not a bad Snake Eyes, it's not a bad figure. He's all, you know, pure black. He's got, instead of his, you know, visor, he's just got little tiny beady looking eyes. He's got some decent weaponry though, and a little bit of blue highlights on him, so it's not too bad. It's not a bad figure. Okay, next in line we have the Night Creeper version 2. So this is a pretty great looking figure, and I kind of love the look here. I love the head sculpt. The colors are too garish and too weird, and that does turn me off a little bit, but I will say that, but I do kind of love the look and the Night Creeper. What I really love is what they did with Classified, bringing in and giving you that Night Creeper and then giving you the second head sculpt so you can make a sort of team and have them have different looks. To me, that was fun. Okay, next in line we have the Boxer Balrog, and again, just another great figure. This would have worked really well against Big Boa, or against, if we'd gotten our Rocky Balboa figure, he would have been a great figure to bring in. You know, just a brawler, boxing gloves. Okay, next line we have Blanka, and Blanka version 2. We have 2 versions. To me, Blanka was, you know, again, he's stretching a little bit beyond what G.I. Joe is, but you can imagine a Dr. Mindbender experiment gone wrong. He's just a big, giant green dude, you know, or whatever color dude. Looks enraged and crazy. He's got this crazy hair. Okay, next in line we're going past the Street Fighters, and we're going to pick out one of the Battle Corps figures that I actually like. And this is Long Arm. Now, this is a new version of Long Arm. It's a figure we had before. But what's very cool about this Long Arm, he's supposed to be the first guy in the room. He breaks down doors. He's that guy. This version of Long Arm has like a full-on suit. He's the first strike specialist, so he's going right into the room first. But what they gave him was, he gave him a giant, one of those stupid giant missile launchers, but it's got a big shield on it. But they also gave him this like helmet, just like with a bulletproof glass, so he can just go and he's basically bulletproof. And I think he looks different and unique enough that he's kind of fun. Okay, next in line, we're gonna get to some stuff that I'm gonna admit. I admit to, you know, it wouldn't be for me, but I gotta look at it as a kid. Would I like this thing? And I gotta admit, I probably would have fun with it. This is the Monstro Viper. And it looks more like a He-Man toy than it does a G.I. Joe toy. It just does not look like G.I. Joe in any way. It doesn't feel like G.I. Joe. Yet at the same time, I can see if you're a kid, it also feels like there's a big Aliens influence here. That's, I think, the Mega Marines seem to me to be aliens. Their Mega Marine like vehicle, which I think is actually kind of badass. And then they go in and they fight the Monstro Vipers. And the idea is that Mindbender's at it again, and he's created these monsters. And he crossed them with rabid werewolves, because a werewolf's not dangerous enough, giant Bigfoots, and grizzly bears, even though it looks nothing like any of those three things. And he also gave them inner body chambers that create exploding gut bombs. So you put like, this is what you use the clay for. You stick it in his gut, close it, it comes out a ball. Which is not very exciting for Play-Doh if you're a Play-Doh fan. This is not good Play-Doh, okay? This is, if you come up with a ball, you can do that with your set. You can just roll it in your hands for 20 seconds and you got a ball. So that's not exciting at all. But the thing comes out a gut bomb. And I think these things explode. So they're pretty horrifying and kind of dangerous in the idea that Cobra is experimenting against soldiers. I mean, this is absolutely stupid. But I'm gonna say, as a kid, if I had one, I would have played with it. Similar to Cobra La, there's a lot of debate within the G.I. Joe community. Is Cobra La really G.I. Joe, or does it push it too far? And I've always been in the dead middle. It pushes it too far, but the design is so good, I kind of love it. And I do love the movie. And if I just go, whatever, this is what G.I. Joe's wacky and crazy and weird, and I can leave room for Cobra La. I can't really leave room for the Monstro Viper. And the reason why that I can't leave room for the Monstro Viper is it doesn't look like a G.I. Joe toy. It looks like some other line. How? But that doesn't mean you would not love that shit if you were like 10. So I get it. Kind of better than the Monster Vipers, just slightly, I think, is the Bio Viper. Because the Bio Viper has tentacles that come out of its back. It's like a fish monster. I don't know. They're both kind of fun. And it certainly would have been a blast as a kid to play with these things. Even if it's not really what I would think of as G.I. Joe. Okay, next in line we have a fairly good Star Brigade figure. And this is Astronaut Roadblock. And this is an absolutely respectable version of Roadblock with an astronaut suit. The astronaut suit doesn't look ridiculous. It's not a robot mech suit. It's just a nice little astronaut suit. And you know, if you're going into space with your Defiant, and you're going to want Roadblock there. And so this is great. I think this was a direction they maybe could have gone, and that would have been fun. Okay, next in line we have the Headhunter Stormtroopers. Now, I'm absolutely in love with these. I like everything about the Headhunters. I like the idea that drug dealers are, in G.I. Joe. They're actually quite terrifying looking and really fit in the world as you imagine them as sort of the enforcers of the Headhunter lore, right? And they are just absolutely terrifying, covered in spikes, just scary skull heads. Okay, next we have Chun-Li, and Chun-Li version 1 and version 2. We have version 2 that came with a vehicle, and version 1 that was just a figure, and love this figure. She looks like a traditional Chinese warrior woman that you would see in just about any kung fu movie, and she had a nice look to her. So for me, she really felt like just yet another woman you could bring into Ninja Force. So great figure. Okay, but now we're getting to the stuff where I think it really just is set apart from everything else. Okay, so Dhalsim, he's the yoga fighter, right?
And Dhalsim, what's a Dhalsim? Oh!
And what is so great about him, he's got the skulls on his chest. And he's taller and skinnier. He's much taller, much leaner than the rest of the figures. So as far as, if you want, and the idea is his limbs stretch around and can crush the enemy. And so, man, making him just some sort of weird, like, hitman thing was really cool. And he just brought a lot. And I love the idea that they're playing with new sculpts, right? Changing the bodies of G.I. Joe characters. Okay, next in line we have Edmund Honda, and this is such a great figure. Honestly, just absolutely love this because he completely changed the mold. He's a big, massive figure. They never made a big figure like this. There was never any figure in G.I. Joe that really changed that real body shape. So we have a sumo wrestler. And they all had action features too. You could flip his arms and they would slam down, which whatever was fine because it didn't. In the case of some of them, they would occasionally, the action feature could hamper the movement, but from what I remember, Edmund Honda's did not. He was just like this big guy, so you just have him throwing Snake Eyes around, leaping up, sitting on Snake Eyes' head, and and just again, all these guys felt like if you could really bring them in as various different martial artists. And so that really worked for me in having them fight the Ninja Force, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Scarlet.
Correcto! Capcom Street Fighter 2 figures each sold separately. Oh, I like them.
Next in line, we have Sagat. And this figure absolutely is a great warrior figure to throw in a G.I. Joe battle. What I love about him is he's terrifying looking. Eye patch, scar down his chest. He's got a kick fighter look to him. He's covered in ninja weapons, swords, blades, claw hand. But the greatness of this figure is the muscular build and also the size. So he was towering over your G.I. Joe figure. So now you're bringing him in as this like nameless henchman to battle against Ninja Force. And he was the body shape being so different. This is why I love the Street Fighter figures, and they're totally fun to bring in a G.I. Joe. But the number one figure of the year, this very weird, wacky ass year of G.I. Joe, is Zartan version 2. And this is like, okay, it's not my favorite version of Zartan, but I do kind of love it. He's got a neon glow mohawk. He's got his same Zartan makeup, so you know it's him. And he's bikered out. Finally came with his bow and arrow, because we know he's a master marksman with a bow. He actually killed Serpentor in the comic book. And so he also killed the Hardmaster. So he's a master marksman with a bow, and a bow is one of his major weapons. And so he just really had a great aesthetic that really fit and completely unique look. And that is my take on this really bizarro year. Thank you for listening to me blab about this. I know it was long because there's so many figures to go through, and I like to be thorough. And what do you think? What's your favorite figures? Did you like any of this? Did you hate all of it? Did you love all of it? Like, tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments below. I do love talking to you about it. And the other thing, I do very often respond to a majority of the comments. So, you know, let's keep the conversation going. And if you really like rankings, check out this ranking where I talk about the Drugs Are Bad year, 1992.